Silver Mines owns the Bowden Silver Project in central New South Wales. It's one of the biggest undeveloped silver projects in the world and largest in Australia. Please welcome Silver Mines Managing Director, Tony Mcclure.
Thank you, Abby. And thank you to Nick and Sharon for putting the event on. What a great outcome and for a difficult period. But I'd also like to thank those visitors who have come to our booth. It's great to see people turning up and asking about silver. A lot of people are well invested in silver and know a lot about it, so that's great to see, and hopefully I can encourage a few more of you to come visit at our booth if you'd like some more detail after this presentation. There's a lot of slides here. I won't go through all of them in detail, but obviously they'll through the online there'll be all the slides for you to go through. So sticking with the jurisdiction, after Shaun, New South Wales, silver, changing commodities of course. Silver, a lot of you may not be aware, but there's a lot of talk at the moment about the nickels and cobalts, lithiums and so forth in the decarbonisation of the globe and whatever. Silver's a big part of that as well, given its properties. I'll touch on that, and that's a very key driver for the outlook for silver. Disclaimer is on our website. I encourage you to look at that. So Silver Mines Limited, the Bowden Silver Project's about 3.5 hours drive west of Sydney. Jurisdiction's great. We sit between the coalfields to the north of the Hunter Valley, and to the south of us is the Katie Ridgeway and other mines in the jurisdiction. So New South Wales is transitioning. Obviously, coal is a big part of our economy, and as we move out of coal, there's a hyper focus at the moment on what's going to replace that, and it's mines like these which will be developed and at least carry part of that void that's going to be created. So Silver Mines, we've got a market capitalization about $260 million. That varies. It's down a touch at the moment. Silver prices come off a little bit. We're not too worried about that. We've got $25 million in cash at the moment, so we're well off. That is so. When we look at our share price, we pretty much follow the silver price, and obviously results and the project developing and so forth encourages that, but I encourage you to look a bit further as to the performance of our share price versus silver. If you're a betting person, the silver price is going up, and the exposure in silver equities is great, and the leverage, when you look at compared to say gold, whatever, the leverage in silver is quite outstanding. So please have a closer look at that. We're at the pointy end of our approvals, so New South Wales is not Queensland, it's not Western Australia. There's a lot of detail you need to get through. We've borne that pain over the last few years, and we're through the system. We expect that we should be through our final approvals in the balance of this year, hopefully around October. But through our tenure, we've been at this project for 6 years now. It was all been about de-risking, so taking the project on. A lot of work had been done by previous owners, but we developed the resource 2017, 2018. We added about 100 million ounces to our resource. We're sitting on 275 million ounces of silver equivalent. The project is vast. Following on from there, reserve assessment, feasibility study, the environmental work has all been complete, and as I say, we're in the final throes of the approvals for mining lease. Data there down the bottom on ore reserves and mineral resource. We're tapping into a fraction of the resource initially, and what I'll explain is that what's going on underneath the current resource is proving the goods at the moment. And when we say 275 million ounces, the initial development's tapping into a part of that. There's growth potential there, and what we're doing from an exploration standpoint is showing that the system is continuing at depth. The system is vast, so it's not a discrete ore body. It's something that's keeps going, and we're not aware of the full extent of it yet, and that's obviously particularly exciting for us. A bit more on the map. So you see Sydney there. This is showing the Lachlan Fold Belt, all the rocks, Cadia Ridgeway, North Parks and so forth are in the western limb of the Macquarie Arc. We're on the eastern limb of the Macquarie Arc, which is effectively poorly understood, although the Bowden Silver project has been well combed over and well understood now. To the north of us, the eastern lim of the Macquarie Arc, which we effectively 100% owned, is still poorly understood, and I'll touch on one of the prospects we're looking at in a moment. Zeroing in, so you see Bowden Silver there, that's the centre of our universe. Moving north there, you see Goldgong, that's an old gold mining centre. The last of those gold mines was closed at the outset of World War One. Between us, we have the Barraballar project, which is a copper-gold porphyry target. We pulled out of there at the start of COVID, given we're working on other people's freehold, and we shrunk back into Bowden Silver to do further drilling at depth in 100% freehold tenure. So Barraballar will be back. We have a rig moving up there in the next couple of weeks, so we're looking forward to that. So zeroing in on Bowden Silver, this is the pit outline, the proposed pit outline, the geology there. We're draping to the north of the Sydney Basin sandstones, and that's containing the coal measures, and we're effectively under that, the bottom of that sequence. The financials on the development, so it's a sound development, $250 million build. We'll be producing initially about 6 million ounces of silver. That'll be, I have Cannington, the Cannington silver mine in Queensland here is the largest silver mine. It's in its twilight, but Bowden Silver will be, at some point, will be the largest silver mine development in Australia. So there's details on that. We will be producing silver for under $10 US an ounce versus a silver price at the moment of over 20, so there's a good margin there. We expect to get that in the first few years, in any case where we have high grades and so forth, that those costs of development will be, operating costs will be well below 10 US. The plant layout is all pretty simple. We have a nearby town. Unfortunately, we have a ridge that's in the way of that, and so the nearby town won't see any infrastructure or mine development whatsoever. So we're pretty thankful that we've got that ridge in the way. The approvals for New South Wales is detailed from an environmental point of view, and I like to say that we are at the completion end, and we expect to be in front of the decision-making body, which is the Independent Planning Commission, round about October. The process is outside of our control at the moment, but we're almost there, and there's no obstacles for that approval. Just to show this very quickly. So this is something that's very important in New South Wales. The community support is essential for mine developments in New South Wales. We have roughly 80% support, which is particularly unusual. Indeed, the Minerals Council of New South Wales came out recently saying that they have never known any mine development in New South Wales that's had that level of support, and that's dealing with over 100 years of mine developments. Having community support is essential, and we're particularly comfortable, and that's demonstrating the willingness of the local community to see strong local development. Silver uses, this is particularly topical at the moment. So historically, silver has been used in photography and jewellery and so forth. Has been a history of industrial uses, and the main driver from that is because silver is by far the best electrical conductor. The moving forward with silver, the main area of growth is photovoltaic cells, so So solar power. Solar power does not work without silver. So when we see US and other jurisdictions being so bullish on solar power, the Biden administration came out a little while ago stating that 60% of their power will come from solar electricity. That's boom time for silver. So yes, it's good for other metals as well, but silver in particular. You can't replace silver given its properties in conductivity. 5G is another area. Yes, we see it rolling out in Australia, but other jurisdictions, Europe and US, are just commencing their rollouts. That's a boom market for silver. Electric vehicles, there's more silver in an electric vehicle than there is in a combustion engine vehicle. The outlook for just solar in itself, it produces, silver contributes, about 10% of mine production goes into solar panels right now. Next few years that will expand about 20%. We've seen data that is showing by 2030, 2040 that 2 to 3 times current mine production will be required to keep up with just the solar power. So that's not including electric vehicles and other technologies. So it is very much a green metal. When we see the outlook by the Goldman Sachs and Citigroups and other European houses calling silver to $50 an ounce and above, we're just over $20 at the moment. The outlook is particularly good. So that's great for us. Obviously, we've been through a de-risking process and resource assessment, all reserves, feasibilities, environmentals, getting approvals done, and that's coinciding with a very robust market. So we're obviously delighted with that. Touch on exploration, and again, I won't go through all these slides, but again, you'll see that's the outline of the pit. The pit is very much focused on the top 150 metres, the ore body outcrops from surface. The initial years of development are particularly robust because there's no waste. But the drilling underneath, since we took over the project, we were intrigued as to why this project was here. It's very unusual for New South Wales, very unusual for Australia to see this, such a massive silver ore body. And from a geological perspective, we wanted to understand that in more detail. There's been virtually no drilling at depth. So we've spent some time. We've made 3 recent discoveries directly under the pit, which is high-grade silver mineralisation. We're interested in chasing the feeder zones. Is there a porphyry system at depth? Are there other commodities? And we're seeing all of that. We haven't touched the sides of this system. As we drill deeper, we're seeing much higher grade silver. We then transition lower grade silver, much higher grade zinc and lead. We're drilling in the southeast at the moment, just outside of the pit area. We're seeing a lot of gold coming into the system as we move southeast. Initial intercept over 100 metres at low grade gold, but the significance of that is very, very encouraging. And we're telescoping into seeing chalcopyrite or copper at depth as well. So yes, it's a nice silver ore body, but it's a mineral system that is the mine development is 16 years, and I think hand on our hearts we can say that this will still be in production in 50 years' time. This system is very significant, and that's shown below. So you see the blue line there. That's an outline of the pit in the blue line, and then these discoveries at depth. The 2 to the north, which is the northwestern Argean zone, is very similar to what we see close to the surface. And the Bundara zone has around about a half a gram credit in gold, and zones continuing at depth as we continue on. That Bundara zone is very much open. As we move to the right of the page there, we're seeing a much greater tenor, and there's virtually no drilling that's been done out of there since then. I can't read those numbers there, but it's exciting for us. When we see values of over 100 grams silver, that's exciting. But when we see intercepts, when we're getting over 1,000 grams, some zones up to 2,000 grams, we start to think in ounces. So that's 1,000 grams is 30 ounces per tonne silver. It's a system that lends itself to, yes, there's a lot of low grade in there, but there's some very high grade that's in there. There's a few slides on that, and I'll let you go through that at your leisure. As I mentioned before, the gold coming into the system as we move to the southeast. First visible gold just got returned a few weeks ago. So out of all the drilling over many moons, first gold is great to see. Let's quickly touch very quickly. This is the project to the north, copper gold porphyry. The last serious work that was done by Anglo back in the 1970s, and we're just about to embark back on this project, and that's a copper gold target that's in a older system, and that's about 10 kilometres north of silver, so it's just adding to the larger story. Thank you very much.